dumneavoastră ce prezențați aici, aceste onorate prezențe pe care o avem alături de noi. Avem speakeri cu multă experiență în domeniul nostru de activitate. Înainte de toate, am să mă prezint eu. Sunt Liliana Nichita, directorul de operații al Eco-Rom Ambalaj. Pentru început, aș dori să îl invit pe domnul Sorin Popescu, în calitate de gazdă, să vă spună câteva cuvinte. După cum știți, din invitație, evenimentul este organizat în parteneriat cu Agenția Națională pentru Protecția Mediului, dar din considerente care nu depind de dumnealor, domnul vicepreședinte nu poate să fie azi prezent alături de noi. Mai târziu o să avem și o intervenție a Agenției Naționale. Până atunci, domnul Popescu o să țină loc de gazdă în această dimineață. Mulțumesc frumos!
Bună dimineața tuturor! Stimate doamne, stimați domni, în primul rând trebuie să vă mulțumim pentru că v-ați răpit din timpul dumneavoastră de a participa la acest eveniment, la care au dat curs atât autorități centrale, respectiv Ministerul Mediului, Ministerul Economiei, Agenția Națională de Protecție a Mediului, precum și autorități locale, ADI-uri și, în ultimul rând, partenerii noștri, operatori de salubritate și companii de management al deșeurilor. În al doilea rând, trebuie să mulțumim pentru prezența personalităților la nivel european, care reprezintă, să spunem așa, vectorii nu numai de imagine, dar și de monitorizare și de reglare a acordurilor fine în tot ceea ce înseamnă managementul ambalajelor și preocuparea lor este să armonizeze toate, să spunem așa, picurile fiecărui stat membru, în așa fel încât la nivel de Uniune Europeană lucrurile să capete sens și toată lumea să meargă în aceeași direcție. Salutăm prezența domnului Olivier de Clercq din partea Direcției Generale de Mediu, Comisia Europeană, domnul Vermeir, președintele Asociației Extended Producer Responsibility, care, pentru cunoștința dumneavoastră, reunește un număr de organizații europene care au ca scop monitorizarea și implementarea în țara lor a acestui principiu care a fost nu numai declarat, dar va deveni și o cerință conform directivei europene de gestionare a deșeurilor și în care România, prin Eco-Rom Ambalaje, este parte și, nu în ultimul rând, directorul general al Asociației Internaționale a Deșeurilor Solide, ISWA, domnul Hermann Koller. Nu vreau să vă mai rețin, așteptăm din partea dânșilor nu numai prezentările, dar și noutățile care vin pentru noi, cei toți actori în managementul deșeurilor și urez mult succes acestor lucrări. Încă o dată, bine ați venit și...
În continuare, am să-i dau cuvântul domnului Olivier de Clercq, Policy Officer în cadrul Waste Management. vastă în domeniul gestionării deșeurilor, iar astăzi o să ne împărtășească câteva cuvinte sau câteva tendințe care la nivel european se prefigurează, pentru ca să ne putem pregăti, este nevoie să știm ceea ce ne așteaptă. Olivier?
Thank you. So, good morning, everybody. I would like to thank Eco-Rom for the invitation and thank you all to attend this conference. I think it's an important issue we would like and you would like to discuss today. So, my presentation will be focused on the challenges of EU waste policy, mainly legislation implementation, and then some perspectives for the future, I mean, in terms of policy evolution, but also support to member states. Well, just a few words I'm sure you know that, but just to recall you what's the landscape, the waste policy landscape at European level, and to recall you what are the main legal requirements and legal requirements that are in place at the moment. I mean, the Waste Framework Directive is of course a key piece of legislation in link with municipal waste and construction emission waste targets, but also for general requirements concerning the implementation of the waste hierarchy and many other requirements. The waste shipment regulation concerning exportations of waste and shipments of waste. Then we have some treatment directives concerning incineration and industrial emissions directive and the landfill directive that you know well, I'm sure, with the diversion targets. Then we have some specific waste stream directive concerning specific waste and products, packaging and packaging waste directive, batteries, waste electric and electronic equipment directive, and end-of-life vehicles, which are, the four of them have qualitative targets, and also directive on mining waste, sewage and PCT. So this is, of course, very rapid because it's difficult to enter into the discussion. I will not go into the detail of this slide, but this is an overall picture for you records, and it's also in the dossier that you have received. This is a very short summary of all the targets that are currently in place. One of the key principles, and I think, of course, you are aware of that, is the waste hierarchy, which puts as a first priority waste prevention. There we are at the product level. That means that we have to avoid waste to be produced. And then we go for the waste part of the hierarchy with the preparation for reuse, recycling, including composting and anaerobic digestion, it's included, and other recovery, including waste-to-energy plants and disposal, including landfilling or incineration without energy recovery. So this is for us, for the Commission, but also for the member states. And for all waste management actors, this should be, of course, the main line to follow in any initiatives they take. And this is something we will be, and we are very attentive on. A word on the situation in Europe, which is quite diverse, of course. I mean, in terms of waste, municipal waste generation, this is one indicator, but we can take other types of waste, or municipal waste. It's a good reflect of the diverse situation in Europe. You can see that there are quite big differences between member states in terms of production of municipal waste. This is in kilo per capita. Romania is there. So, I mean, this is maybe one important feature of Romania, that it's not producing a lot of waste, not compared to the others, and this is an encouraging indicator. But you can see that for different reasons, which I will not describe into detail. I mean, there are big differences. It's of course in link with the consumption patterns, but it's also in link with the definition of municipal waste or the way it is reported on the statistical side. I don't know if you can see that clearly. Romania is there. In blue, this is the municipal waste treatment repartition. In blue, it's the landfilling, green recycling, red incineration, and purple is composting. So you see again that in terms of treatment of municipal waste in Europe, we have a huge variety of situations, and this is one of the key challenges for the European Commission, but also for many member states, is to try to harmonize and to go with the same, to reach the same performances and try to achieve the targets. You might know that for municipal waste, there is this legal targets in the Waste Framework Directive of 50% recycling by 2020, which means that many countries at the moment are not reaching it, but still, I mean, there is time. But 6 countries are already reaching it. There are some encouraging signs of evolution. This is a recent publication by the European Environment Agency showing, I mean, there are many graphs I could have taken from this publication, and I would like to encourage you to have a read. And I can send you the references of this publication by the European Environment Agency. But this is showing that, I mean, even if it's in some cases a slow evolution, there is an evolution in terms of reduction of landfilling. This is the number of member states, the number of countries that are in the different phases of municipal waste treatment. So we, for instance, 17 member states were landfilling more than 75% in 2001, and now there are only, or still 11, I mean, the way you see it. And I mean, all indicators show that there is, of course, this evolution, but it's too slow, definitely, and it's not satisfactory. This, again, is from the same report, and is showing the distance to the 50% recycling targets. I mean, the agency has taken a very simple approach, simplistic approach, based on what was the evolution the last 10 years, and based on that evolution, how it would evolve, I mean, by 2020. Of course, then that means that, for instance, for Romania, which is the third, starting from the left, that means an important effort to be made by 2020 to reach this 50% target. Actually, nearly a 5% effort by years, so a 5% increase. But I will come back to that in my presentation about also the way recycling rate is calculated and reported, because there might be some discussion on that. This is a picture of concerning the packaging waste directive targets, packaging waste recycling, as well. This is one of the targets, the overall target, the 55% target. And well, this is an encouraging picture showing that I mean, in the last in 6 years, the green, you can see the green is Romania. There was a very stable and very interesting evolution and increase in terms of recycling in Romania for packaging. So I said that, I mean, one of the main challenges for the European Union is to reach an implementation level of the legislation and to the achievement of the main targets. That's why we implemented compliance and promotion exercise in 2012, and we made kind of scoreboard of all different elements of all member states. And some countries were selected for a more in-depth assessment, and we organized a dialogue with the member states and some seminars, and based on that there were some recommendations in discussion with the member states. Romania was one of those countries, with some others that are listed on the slide. I will not read them, of course. And it's interesting to draw the conclusion of this exercise, that we will continue for other member states, by the way. We can see that in the countries where the performances are kind of lagging behind or are, I mean, the performance or the progress is slower. I mean, there are some common conclusions. The first conclusion is that there is a lack of infrastructure, collection and treatment infrastructures, that lots of investments were focused on the last steps of the waste hierarchy, which mean mainly landfilling or MBT, and not enough on separate collection, recycling, and composting. Also, another conclusion is definitely the need to invest much more on separate collection at source with the households, but not only, I mean, also with the businesses. And not only on dry recyclables, not only on packaging, but also on bio-waste and kitchen waste. A key aspect is also the use of economic instruments, the low level or the inexisting level of landfill taxes or bans, the very weak use of producer responsibility, which is really a useful tool. We will see that maybe in the other presentations as well. Pay-as-you-throw schemes, which is the variable charging for waste collection at municipal level. That means that the more you separate your wastes, the less you would pay for your residual waste, or on the contrary, the more you would pay for your residual waste. So this is really, and I will show you some graph on that, this is really also considered as a key element to boost separate collections. And also an important aspect is this, the link between the national policy and the local or regional policies, and the way at national level there can be some incentives in place for municipalities to really develop those separate collection schemes. Also the problem of capacities, for instance at local level in terms of tendering processes, also involving the citizens in the process of implementing separate collection, raising awareness, and having a clear repartition of roles between the actors. Again, I mean, this is not only for Romania, but it's also the case in Romania. The use of structural funds which are available for waste management policies is not optimal. It's definitely not optimal. And it's also focusing on, as I said, on the last steps of the hierarchy with the focus on low-cost technologies. And last, no, not the last, but the sixth point is the planning, waste management plans. And this is a key challenge also for many countries, including Romania, with the waste management plans in line with the in line with the new directives, and to make sure that those plans lead really to the achievement of the targets. And then statistics. Statistics is a key point. It's a general point across all European member states, and it has an impact on the calculation of performance, but also on the way you can monitor your policy. And definitely for Romania, for instance, as I showed you, for municipal waste recycling, we have a very low recycling rate, which is reported to Eurostat, less than 2% for municipal waste recycling. And then you see that packaging statistics are much better, and some reconciliation is needed. But we also on our side need to clarify maybe some definitions and some reporting methods. So this is clearly something we would like to address. So I have some slides for your records, and you can consult them after the conference. I will not go, because it's kind of going into more detail. I don't want to be too long either. But just to insist on the role of economic instruments, and I think this conference today will highlight that, definitely involving all the actors, including the producers, in their responsibility and in financing the collection and treatment, and with the way of increasing recycling is definitely key. Also, reducing the attraction of landfill by increasing the cost through landfill tax. The tax could also be used for, of course, increasing selective collection. And then also giving incentives to the citizens, not making the costs much higher, but giving the right incentive between sorting and unsorting. Just to show you the impact of those economic instruments, this is on the horizontal, you see the level of landfill tax for several countries, and on the y-axis you see the impact on the landfill rate. And you see that there is a very obvious and linear correlation between the increase of the landfill tax and the decrease of landfilling. This is clearly observed in all member states. You see Romania is in light pink. Another economic instrument I mentioned is the pay-as-you-throw schemes, and there you see some examples in some small cities in Italy, where you see from the day they implement this variable charging, you see an immediate increase. This is the light blue, immediate increase in separate collection and immediate decrease in the residual waste collection. Which means that in the end, you are capturing, of course, materials that have a value. In terms of the structural funds, there is, as you might know, the negotiations for the new programming period will start, about to start for the period 2014-2020. And definitely our intention is to focus on the first steps of the research, as I mentioned, and there will be, that's a new feature as well, there will be a kind of ex-ante control on some conditionalities, some criteria, which are the robustness of the measures that are taken to really achieve the targets, the content of the waste management plans, the waste prevention programs, which have to be established by the end of this year, and the use of those economic instruments I mentioned. This is something we will assess before, in the process of the negotiation, and if it's not respected or if the conditionalities are not fulfilled, then we will have a discussion with the member state to see how they can implement that in a very short term. So I will go through and skip those slides which are repeating the same. Just to mention, some people might say, of course, environmental preoccupation in times of economic crisis and social crisis is a difficult feature to bring to the scene. There are some opportunities, and we definitely are discussing with our colleagues at the economic level from DG Enterprise, for instance, or from other sectors. We have carried out some studies that are showing that there is a huge potential in increasing and developing activities by the implementation of the waste legislation. These are the figures that were observed in this study in terms of turnover and creation of new jobs. New jobs including in the reuse, repair activities, but also the selective collection, the sorting, and all types of jobs that you can find in the waste management chain. For Romania only, it was, the conclusion was that the potential was to create 30,000 new jobs by 2020 with the implementation of those targets that I mentioned, and the possibility of developing activities increasing the turnover of waste management company by 3 billion euros. So this was for the challenge and the situation. What's coming up? And I will be short because I know there are other presentations. You might know that we have recently, in the Parliament, the European Parliament and the European Council have recently agreed on the 7th Environment Action Programme, which is the perspective for the next period for environment. And for waste, in particular, the objectives are, the main objectives are the following. Of course, the focus is on prevention. That means that the focus is on the reduction of waste generation. Also, as I said, food waste is a key feature, and there is clearly a potential to do much more at EU level for food waste. Energy recovery should be limited to non-recyclable material, and phasing out landfilling, at least for non-recyclable and non-recoverable waste. And the use of market-based instruments like the economic instruments, which are clearly mentioned also as a key priority. Next year we will have a target review. We have the mandate, the Commission has to review the targets of 3 directives. Waste framework directives, including the municipal waste and construction demolition target, the packaging waste directive, and the landfill directive. So this is a clear political mandate, and we have to come up with a proposal in the framework of this review. What will lead us in this exercise is, of course, the objectives I just mentioned from the 7th EAP, and also the resource efficiency roadmap. But also, we would like not only to do a discussion on targets, but also on the necessary instruments and necessary measures to reach them, but also to monitor the progress towards those instruments. And this is, again, the role of economic instruments, communication instruments, better statistics, better reporting, better tracking of the waste, for instance through some register, and also to have better support to the member state with a kind of early warning procedure. So, I mean, if in case there is a potential problem, to avoid to the current situation where we have targets and then we just observe that they are not achieved, but without anticipating. Just a word on the planning for this target review. So we had the first list of options that was submitted to public consultation, European public consultation during 3 months, and it was closed on 10 September. Now we are refining this list of options, and we will proceed with an impact assessment as it is required for all European initiatives. And the idea, the official planning is to come up with a legislative proposal before the European elections, so to be adopted by the College, the Commission, and then of course after the election to continue the process. Just to mention an important tool that we are currently developing with the European Environment Agency is the modeling tool for municipal waste, which will help us in the impact assessment procedure, but also will be a tool that will be will be made available for the members and for the authorities, and it will allow to assess the impact of different scenarios in terms of waste management performance, but also in terms of job creation, greenhouse gas emissions reduction, and so on. And another point I wanted to mention is that for extended producer responsibility, we are currently carrying out a study, and there is some information available on our website. And the idea is to, as I said, to come up with some proposal that will feed into the target review, the legislative proposal, to have some minimum principles, requirements for the implementation of extended producer responsibility in Europe. Because we see that there is a clear lack of transparency, huge differences again in terms of cost effectiveness, cost performance, and so on. Last slide. As I said, we will continue this supporting exercise to accompany the implementation and to make sure that the current legislation is really implemented in all member states and that all member states reach the same level of performance. We have an important contract starting now for 4 years, which will help us assessing the waste prevention programs, the waste management plans, and to make some guidance, some recommendations for the member states, very targeted, but also for the regions, because we would like also to work not only at the national level, but at the regional level, which is where the real operations are taking place. And we will provide also member states with better guidance. Definitely there is also maybe a lack of guidance for some thank you for your attention, and I'm available for questions.
În continuare, să vedem care sunt experiențele pe care putem să le împărtășim astăzi, experiențe la nivel mondial, experiențe care vor fi împărtășite de către directorul general al ISWA. Domnul Hermann Koller este o persoană cu vastă experiență în domeniul gestionării deșeurilor, mai mult de 20 de ani. Așa încât cred că avem ce să învățăm de la dumnealui. Ca și domenii pe care dânsul le acoperă, am să număr doar câteva: management integrat al deșeurilor, răspunderea extinsă a producătorilor, schimbări climatice, economie verde, finanțarea sistemului de gestionare a deșeurilor. Deci, iată, are calificare în multe domenii, adună experiență din foarte multe state și aș dori astăzi să-l rog să împărtășească cu noi câteva din aceste bune practici pe care le-am întâlnit la nivel mondial.
Thank you, Liliana, for the very nice words. I didn't pay anything for that, for the nice words. just advice, and very nice, you know. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You see, as Liliana mentioned, what I have to cover. It is quite a challenge to cover all these issues within 15 minutes, because this is the time frame. I will do my best to give you just a brief overview of what's going on a global basis on waste management, give you just spot some examples where waste management works quite properly. Olivier already gave some hints on that. I will do the same on a global level, which we can then intensively discuss. Just one word to ISWA. ISWA is the International Solid Waste Association. The association is based in Vienna, in Austria, and we have, to make it short, just let's say a worldwide mission, which is to promote sustainable waste management on a worldwide basis, which we do with many projects around the world. Of course, one of the focus is the emerging economies, the developing economies, but we also do have a lot of events, congresses and so on and so forth in Europe, overseas, wherever waste arises, that means everywhere. So, what is now I started with the European approach. Of course, Olivier already covered that, but just to give you one example where we are in Europe. So the European approach is quite clear. It's the landfill directive. This is a very good approach because it's quite simple, saying no untreated waste to landfills, which is very good. The rice recovery, recycling, only treated waste on landfills. And Olivier already raised that, the producer responsibility. For us in Europe, it's quite clear this is a very good approach. When we look at a global level, producer responsibility is a phenomenon which is in Europe. But many other regions, particularly Asia, is looking towards Europe because they see this is a very good approach. So there are some, let's say, they are trying to copy this approach. As it turned out, over the last, I would say, 20 years, that in producer responsibility, for some fractions, they can be a very good model, is a very good role model. So, landfill directive, I just want to highlight the landfill directive and the producer responsibility, which is implemented quite well in Europe, which are role models on a worldwide basis. Latin America, Asia is looking to Europe for these examples. I want to include Africa, this is another story. Also Australia Pacific region is looking at those two role models. Just one example from my home country, which is Austria. You already mentioned this as well. You see, when we are looking about the development, we start on the left-hand side. I try to go here. We start at the end of the 80s, where we are now. Is here. You see, there is really a good development in waste management. We started in Austria with, at the end of the 80s, with 60% landfilling. You see it here. And now we are almost to zero. As you see here, mechanical biological treatment is so and so, but waste to energy is one option, and the other option is source separation, is recycling and bio-waste management. This was implemented quite well, and this should just give you an example. We have more examples. We have Belgium, we have Sweden, we have Germany, and so on and so forth, which is more or less the same. This is just one example which shows you the tremendous change within 25 years in waste management. And I would say, if we talk about Europe, it's a question of time to implement such schemes. It's not a question of mentality. When we speak about Asia and other continents, they have a completely different approach. But when we speak about Europe, more or less, the approach is the same and goes towards this theme. A similar chart was shown by Olivier, but this now shows you the shares of different waste treatments on a global level. We have, for example, Hong Kong, almost 100% of landfill. We have Sweden, we have Korea with a mix, we have US, UK, and so on. What I would like to say with this chart is there are different approaches on a worldwide basis. So there is some efficient waste management in Hong Kong as well. They just say sanitary landfill in this region is the goal. And what they do is they have very good landfills, very high quality landfills on a very high standard. Also, when you look at in European terms, the landfill in Hong Kong is very good. The same in US, of course, in UK, in South Korea. But this is quite another approach. It is their status. But, as I mentioned before, they are looking to Europe and they see, okay, landfill or energy recovery is not on a mid-term run, not a long-standing solution, and they are on the way to implement source separation, to implement other kind of waste treatment. But this is the status. So, how can we promote efficient waste management? What do we have to do? One is legal restrictions, of course, which is done. Ban of products is one example. We have a plastic bag ban in Italy, in other countries. We have regulations, we have some kind of source separation. EPR approach is one, which is always mentioned. We have some steering measures. We can introduce fees and taxes, so some kind of financial measures, or deposit systems. Deposit systems are implemented for bottles, for refillable or one-way bottles, whatever. And there are some incentive systems as well. Olivier mentioned this as well. Just to have the pay-as-you-throw systems, or just an easy one to place containers to motivate the people to source separation. So we have different measures and different incentives to make the people aware of the challenges and to get them into the scene and into the boat and to participate. When we speak about resource management, just some hints. How is the evolvement, the development? When we speak about food waste is one of the big challenges. I fully agree with Olivier on that. The first step is what we do with bio-waste. With food waste is to compost it, all these leftovers, or bio-waste management. The second step is just to to buy as much as you need. That means now we have all these offers from the supermarkets, buy two, only pay for one. But at the end of the day, sometimes you don't need this. So this is on a long time basis the better approach. Or when we speak about mobility, the first step is we buy a car which only needs half of the gasoline. Second step could be car sharing. The question is why everybody needs his own car. Car sharing in cities works quite well, so this could be another approach on a broader basis. Or another one, recycling of textiles. The first one is also source separation. Second one is what we already have in some fields. There are some good examples for the cradle-to-cradle approach through combination of new products and recycling. So this is just a mix to the, let's say, to the circular economy or closed loop cycle. So we have for the resource management, this is based on 3 pillars. It's economic, social, and environmental benefits, what we call the green economy. So we have many benefits on different levels. Of course, from the economics, we have on the source separation, we gain benefits from secondary raw materials. We gain value. We have resource security and availability of less costly substitutes material. We have less costs in residual waste management and so on and so forth. For the social, it's job creation. Olivier mentioned already there is a high potential creating jobs in the waste industry, in the waste sector. Of course, then also the public engagement, the participation of the consumers for source separation. On the environmental side, of course, it's very clear resource efficiency, the conservation of natural resources. We don't use the primary raw materials, we use the secondary ones. And last but not least, climate benefits. So separate collection, proper landfilling, sanitary landfilling can contribute significantly to reduce greenhouse gases. And as I had a brief discussion before with Michael, in Eco-Rom is also on the way, as I've heard, to make some evaluation how Eco-Rom contributes to CO2 savings. What is now the key success factors for efficient waste management? There are several. First of all, appropriate legal frameworks, which have to be implemented, and appropriate means not only strict, but it means it has to be the right approach at the right time. So then, secondly, capacity building. We need experts. We need people how they can deal, they can implement the strategies and all the plans. Waste management planning, we need we need clear goals. We need, of course, a time frame, and we need how to deal with that. All the frameworks have to be business friendly. That means the industry, the waste industry, and also the obliged industry of the EPR schemes, they have to be part of that. They have to have a right to participate on that and to influence that, because they are the ones we need for and to encourage them for investments. And there have to be measures for financing, and again, it has to be appropriate measures. It very much depends when we speak about residual waste. Of course, we will always have something like fees on different levels. When we speak about EPR schemes, of course, industry is obliged to pay their contributions of that on that, and also are responsible for the implementation on that. And last but not least, the awareness rising of the consumers to participate, to make them just to tell them how it works and why they should contribute. It's an easy approach, but it has to be done continuously to have a, let's say, long-lasting, good results out of that. So I'm now more or less at the end of my presentation. Would be very happy to discuss all these issues. As I said, within 15 minutes, it's quite a challenge. I just wanted to raise just a few points. Thank you.
În continuare, am plăcerea să dau cuvântul reprezentantului Alianței Sistemelor de Responsabilitate a Producătorilor în Europa, o alianță nou creată, iar cel care vă va împărtăși experiența pe care noi o avem astăzi la nivel european este președintele EXPRA, Vermeir. Este în aceeași măsură director general al Fost Plus, organizația similară Eco-Rom Ambalaj din Belgia, o țară cu performanțe deosebite în acest domeniu, vă vedeți. În plus, domnul Vermeir are experiență de peste 30 în gestionarea deșeurilor. Am vrut ca în fața dumneavoastră să vină numai persoane puternice, cu experiență în spate, vârfurile care pot să ne arate unde trebuie să ajungem, cum putem să ajungem acolo, așa încât să învățăm repede. România astăzi este la 7 ani de la aderare. Ca stat membru ar trebui să fim pregătiți să accelerăm efortul pe care trebuie să-l facem cu toții. William?
Domnilor și domnilor, bună dimineața! Mulțumesc! Okay, I will continue in English.
William, please use the microphone.
Okay, sorry. But they could hear me.
No, for translation.
Okay. It's okay like this? Yeah. Okay, I have only one purpose today, that is to stress to you the importance of extended producer responsibility, EPR, said in a short way, as an environmental and an economic instrument and as a tool to increase the performance of the waste management in different countries. And I will immediately correct myself. I want to stress the importance not simply of EPR, but of the implementation of a sound and a healthy EPR frame and implementation. Very often I call myself an authentic EPR. The way it was designed in, let's say, in a period around 20 years ago, and we had some evolution, and I will make this clear. And I also take at this moment the liberty to tell you, and I apologize for this, that for instance, or that regarding EPR in Romania and also in other countries, there is still a good deal of work to do or to be done. But first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I thank Eco-Rom. Thank you very much for your very kind invitation. I was here the first time 4 years ago in the same autumn month of October to talk and discuss more or less about the same subject. And really I'm delighted to see, and you can see it also in the slides of the European Commission, that a lot of work has already been done, but there is still a way to go. So first of all, a little bit of publicity for EXPRA. Who is EXPRA? Who are we? 4 years ago, EXPRA didn't exist. I was here just in my capacity of FOS+. Today I can talk to you in the name of EXPRA. It's already said, an umbrella organization for packaging and packaging waste recovery. real focus, even more focus than just packaging and packaging waste. We are mainly focusing on household packaging. It's an organization like Eco-Rom, like Vosplus in Belgium, of compliance schemes. Compliance schemes that are owned, that are run, that are enhanced, that are steered by the legal obliged companies. Not by a waste operator, not by an equity firm or whatever. At the moment we are 17 members in 17 European countries, or even non-European countries, like in, depends what you understand by Europe, like in Israel. Turkey is also a member, I will show you in a minute. So what is our mission? To work very close, to work in partnership with all partners, with obliged industry, with the municipalities, with the local and the central authorities. We have, let's say, a triple mission to promote, as I already said, authentic EPR, without the willingness to say that we understand by authentic something old-fashioned. No, because we think that the way EPR was defined 20 years ago, it should still be respected in that way. But I will make this more clear afterwards. This is supposed to be a dynamic presentation. You can see it comes time to time slowly. Our mission is also to promote sustainable and sustainability and efficiency in EPR. And few things that we understand by this, that this is, let me call it a business, but a business that should be executed in a not-for-profit way, or profit not for distribution way. It should be in hand, the coordination should be in hand. I don't not mean the physical operation in the field, but the cooperation should be in hand of the producers, the legal obliged company. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to talk about EPR. And the mission that is then given to this coordinative body, this coordination body, should be attributed in the way of some kind of public or collective interest. And then finally, what we see as our mission, it's like a missioner, like to promote what we understand by best practices. We have developed 10 best practices for EPR, and I will say a few words on this. Here you see the 17 members, and Eco-Rom, together with Vosplus in Belgium and a few others, was one of the founding members of this alliance. I will explain the meaning of EXPRA immediately. We were 4 or 5 systems in the real beginning. We started our activities around 9 months ago, and in April of this year, EXPRA was founded. So what does EXPRA stands for? First of all, we have the word extended. It's very simple. Enhance the responsibility, and not discussing too much. Therefore, we are counting on people like Olivier de Clercq, who are doing a fantastic job at this moment. They are really taking this subject in hand, and we are counting on them to make a very balanced definition regarding EPR. Our role is also to go beyond this definition and to put it in practice. Then we have the producer, which is a key word here. The producer should take things in hand. He should take his responsibility. Otherwise, make an end to EPR. He has to play its role. He cannot transfer his responsibility. And here we have the word responsibility. It is to take things in hand and to fulfill successfully with all the partners in the field. And so, as I said, not to delegate this responsibility to a third party. And finally, we have the word alliance in it. It's not association. We were very, very sure about the choice we made here. It's, let's say, alliance. Okay, you can see what is written here. But let's see it as some kind of a pact, some kind of a coalition between different partners to advance common goals and to define common interest and to work on it. We wanted in this word EXPRA, we also wanted some modern waste management topic like circular economy or sustainability, but we kept it to EXPRA. One of my suggestions was to put the word S in front of EXPRA, but sorry, Mr. Popescu, he didn't like it so much. So we have today a very diverse situation regarding EPR in Europe, and we have developed from diversity in uniformity 20 years ago to what I dare to call chaos today. And there are different reasons for this. There is a lack of a European framework, and we are glad that the Commission is working on it. There is today some kind of safe conduct for each country, a safe conduct for all the players in each country. We have, as I said, lack of guidelines. They are working on it, so we are waiting for it too. There is lack of commitment, and when I'm saying lack of commitment, I'm not only talking about industry, I'm also talking about the authorities. There is lack of transparency in all the systems. There is, in many countries, EPR became some kind of lucrative opportunities that some are converting into cash. So, and here I'm trying to make the link with the title of my presentation, and it's in there, you have to find it, but I'm trying to make now clear why EPR is a necessary tool in order to explain that some countries are lagging behind today. So there is lack of proactiveness at the level of the municipalities. There is lack of support, lack of guidelines coming from the central authorities. There is lack of commitment of industry. Industry is from time to time very afraid to take his commitment. The central authorities do not enough support the municipalities and industry, and in general there is a lack of trust. That is something between one and the other, and that is something that we see very often. And here is the point I want to make. It is one of the main reasons of, I think, of the insufficiency that we are seeing today in many countries, that is that the roles of each player is not defined. The roles are mixing, one is taking the role over the role of the other, one is looking at the other. In the first place, I have as main actor the legislator. He has different things to do. He should create the right legislation, the right balance. He should also avoid counterproductive measures like taxes, deposit schemes when we remain in the field of packaging. But he should also define what is the role of each actor in this field. So, and we think that he should also make enforcement of his legislation, but define in the first place what is the role regarding EPR. The second player is industry, and as I already told you, I'm repeating here maybe myself, he should take things in hand. He should assure the setting up of efficient EPR system, assure transparency and so on and so on. The third player are the municipalities, key player. They are very close to the citizens. They have to they have to make the local policy, but they should also implement the selective collection. Maybe they should be obliged by the central authorities to implement it. They should implement pay-as-you-throw. We already spoke about it. The experience, for instance, in Belgium is that when you introduce EPR, you see the residual waste increasing with immediately 30 to 40%. So it's very simple. The fourth players are the waste operators, very key player too. They have to be the providers of qualitative service. They should not do the clearing. They should not be the EPR system. They should be the service provider in a qualitative way and come up with innovative ideas. and of course, redundant to say, the important role of the citizens. Few words, I'm too proud about the Belgian system to not say a few words on it. This, like you see here, for instance, this is a calendar that is distributed every year in the month of December, and the year after, from January to December, you can see this calendar, this waste calendar. It's not only related to packaging, we make it as FOSPLUS together with the municipalities. It's hanging, I don't know, maybe in the bedroom or in another place, but from 1st of January to 31st of December, people can see when their waste is collected, whether it's residual, organic, or packaging waste. And here, I'm using this very simplified slide to identify the role of each one. FOSPLUS system run by the obliged industry has a pure role of coordination. Coordination, financing, assuring transparency, assuring quality from all its contractors. In the first place, those who are financing the whole bill, the legal obliged companies. We have then a separate contract with the municipalities, the inter-municipal associations, and via them also with the private waste operators. And then we have a third contract with the recyclers, and of course, and don't pay attention to the red color, our relation with the central authorities we have in Belgium for that packaging commission. So what we are doing in Belgium, we are mainly cooperating with the local authorities for collection and sorting. We have a standard contract. This standard contract is approved through our accreditation. We are organizing together the public tendering. FOSPLUS is not collecting itself. We have our role and the operators have their role. The financial conditions are determined. Sorry to say to people of industry, but for instance in Belgium, the full bill is paid. Through the paying of this full bill, we can assure also control and quality. We have our word to say in the whole coordination. And we oblige the municipalities to apply, we oblige them to apply the pay-as-you-throw principle. And don't tell me in Romanian it is inapplicable. You are not right if you would think that. We had this discussion 10, 15 years ago in Belgium too. The south of the country was, in Wallonia, was saying, in the north, in Flanders, you can do it, but we have another culture here, you cannot do it. We did it and it worked. This is our collection scheme, but this is not important at this moment. Few results. We cover the whole of the country. We collect, let's say, we collect a lot. We have also 2,500 jobs involved, so the figures that were shown by Olivier de Clercq and by Hermann Koller, I can believe it because it is calculated in Belgium. I'm one of the 2,500 if you had any doubt about that. And we do all this in Belgium for a cost of around, if you see at the last block, of around 6 euros per inhabitant. I can go over these slides. It's about the fitness check. Olivier spoke about it, the waste target review. Just know that there will be changes very soon in the European legislation. I think Olivier made this clear already enough. But we are waiting for the European Commission for their guidelines. I hope they will be smooth, correct. So better no guidelines than bad guidelines, Olivier, if I can have a message for you. We encourage you to come up with your guidelines to ensure also better implementation of the directive, to force the member states to do better than already today. So we support you. We support the European Commission in their initiatives because we want, as EXPRA, improve transparency, to improve commitment of all the players, to improve the reliability of the data, because the data today is simply a mess. You cannot trust the data. We want to increase all together with ISWA, together with the European Commission, to increase the performance all over Europe. And we want to improve the understandability of EPR. Again, I'm repeating myself and I'm stressing the role of each player. So, increase finally efficiency and effectiveness. And to the member states and to the central authorities, I would say the Commission is working on it. The target, or they are working the horizon to 2014 to come up with something. But after the European Commission, we have the Parliament, we have the Council. So I would say to the member states, move forward to progress to a right implementation of EPR. And this is not pejorative, Olivier. Don't wait for the Commission, I would say. Start tomorrow or today. So we have our 10 golden rules. I have them on paper for you. You can have a copy for it. So I think I can here finish my presentation. The contact person within EXPRA, we have a managing director, and his name is Joachim Koller. You have in my presentation his coordination. You know how to reach him. So do not hesitate. And you can do it also, of course, through Eco-Rom. So my conclusion is, each one his role and assure ownership on responsibility. Sorry to be so direct, but that's my nature. It's at the same time my strength and my weakness. Mulțumesc.
Partenerii acestui demers, respectiv autoritățile centrale, autoritățile locale și companiile de management al deșeului, și-au unit eforturile pentru realizarea obiectivelor naționale de valorificare și reciclare. Am alături de mine pe reprezentanții celor mai importante organizații și instituții la nivel european, respectiv domnul Olivier de Clercq, reprezentant al Uniunii Europene, Direcția de Mediu, cel care monitorizează rezultatele realizate în tot ceea ce înseamnă managementul deșeurilor la nivelul României. În stânga mea, pe domnul Vermeir, care este președintele Alianței Asociației Alianța pentru răspunderea extinsă a producătorului și care în egală măsură este și directorul general al organizației Fost Plus din Belgia, organizație care are același domeniu de activitate și același, să zicem, misiune, cum o are și Eco-Rom Ambalaje în România. Și nu în ultimul rând, doamna Liliana Nikita, directorul de operații al Eco-Rom Ambalaje, care a fost și este inima realizării acestui studiu de determinare a compoziției deșeurilor, precum și a deșeurilor de ambalaje generate de gospodăriile populației. Îi dau cuvântul domnului Olivier de Clercq.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for Eco-Rom for the invitation. My headphones is louder. So I think it's very important for me and for the European Commission to be here today in link with our priorities. Priorities for the European Commission in terms of waste management are clearly the implementation challenge that I made a presentation about the situation in Europe regarding waste management, and there are huge differences in terms of implementation. So this is a key priority for us. Another priority is to move up to circular economy and a resource-efficient economy, which will allow to secure access to raw materials using waste management as a new access to secondary raw materials, to create jobs and also to develop economic activities and new business models. So this is in a few words, because I think I have to be short, the two priorities, and of course, in link with the situation in some member states like Romania, we have developed and published some recommendations a few months ago, and we are following up that closely, and we are observing the evolution in Romania, and there are some clear advices and clear steps that can be implemented at Romanian level. I don't know if I have the time to go into the detail of that now, but otherwise in the process of the questions.
Câteva cuvinte și din partea domnului președinte al EXPRA, Vermeir.
Good morning. Okay, as Soreen already said, I'm here in a double capacity as FOS+, the Belgian Eco-Rom, if I can say so, and as EXPRA, European Association, gathering 17 systems coming from 17 countries. Today I have a leaflet for you. It's not publicity, it's just explaining what we are doing. And Eco-Rom is also, together with FOS+, is member of this alliance, and EXPRA stands for Extended Producer Responsibility Alliance. And I said the word, why do we came here today to Bucharest, and what are we doing in general, is try to explain to all the players in the field, to the public, to the press, that EPR is an important tool to increase the performance of waste management, but we are mainly dealing with packaging waste, so we are focusing on that. But what we are doing can also be done in other fields. And our concern is that we feel that today EPR as an environmental and economic instrument is too much abused in most of the countries of the European Union, and even beyond that. More and more we are seeing some kind of evolution toward chaos. I mean by that, the EPR is not well structured in different countries, and that's one of the causes why there is a lack of performance. And we think what should be done in each of the countries, and with the help of the European Commission, that is that the role of each player is clearly should be clearly defined in the near future. This is the role of the central authorities in the first place, to define these roles of all the players, to do enforcement of the legislation, to go for the right legislation, and as I said, to define these roles. And who are the other players? It's industry, because we are talking about producer responsibility. Industry should take this responsibility, should take ownership on this responsibility, should commit itself in coordinating the EPR and the waste management for packaging, for instance, and also at the financial level. Because when you take financial responsibility, you also have the right to take operational responsibility. Then there is the role of the local authorities that should be clearly defined. They should be obliged to organize selective collection. And I'm now going to use a very technical word, pay as you throw. The municipality should be obliged to apply this principle, pay as you throw on residual waste. The more you have to pay for your residual waste, then your performance of the selective collection will automatically increase. Our experience in Belgium and few other countries is when you do it, the performance increases with 30 to 40%. And then there is also another important role, of course, for the waste operators. They should be the suppliers of a very high qualitative service, and they should, for instance, not take over the role of industry by clearing the whole system. That should be in hands of industry, otherwise we are not talking about producer responsibility. Thank you.
Vă mulțumim, William. Și acum dau cuvântul doamnei Liliana Nikita să prezinte din datele acestui studiu, urmând ca după aceea să așteptăm din partea dumneavoastră întrebările sau comentariile legate de acest studiu.
Mulțumesc, Sorin. Bună dimineața sau bună ziua, vă spun și eu. Proiectul inițiat de Eco-Rom Ambalaje, finanțat și inițiat de Eco-Rom Ambalaje, în începând cu anul 2012, s-a derulat pe perioada a 4 sezoane. Metodologia folosită în elaborarea acestui studiu este o metodologie agreată la nivel european. Scopul propus a fost acela de a sprijini implementarea prevederilor directivei cadru în România și a directivei privind ambalajele și deșeurile de ambalaje. Partenerii în acest proiect au fost în număr de 4, Eco-Rom Ambalaj, așa cum vă menționam anterior, inițiator și finanțator, Asociația de Dezvoltare Intercomunitară Sersal Argeș a fost partenerul nostru, cel care ne-a asigurat suport logistic, ne-a asigurat accesul la deșeu, practic. Asociația studențească INMED, care aș dori să o menționați, niște copii absolut minunați, 20 de studenți care au separat deșeu, care au sortat deșeu în 4 sezoane. Niciunul dintre ei nu a evadat după prima eșantionare, cu toate că îmi puneam această problemă. Artelia este un consultant, a fost managerul de proiect, cel care a coordonat întreg procesul. Câteva cuvinte despre ce s-a întâmplat în acest studiu. Așa cum puteți să vedeți din slide-ul prezentat, există un comportament sezonier. Asta ne arată că iarna generă mai multe deșeuri, mai multe decât în altă perioadă a anului. În termen de cantități, din datele pe care ni le relevă acest studiu, rezultă că undeva în jur de 346 de kilograme de deșeu pe an ajung să fie generate în România. Mai mult sau mai puțin. Noi aproximăm că undeva în jur de 1 kilogram pe locuitor și an este o cifră corectă. Acestea sunt deșeuri reziduale în amestec. Trebuie să vă menționez că acest studiu a plecat de la general către particular. Am dorit să vedem care este cantitatea de deșeu generată într-o gospodărie, cât din acest deșeu este deșeu reciclabil și din acest deșeu reciclabil cât este deșeu de ambalaje. Pentru simplu motiv că, plecând de la aceste cifre, putem să ne construim planuri, strategii, să construim, practic, ceea ce este nevoie ca țintele pe care le avem să fie îndeplinite. Așa cum rezultă din aceste date, în zona în care noi am făcut eșantionarea, în mediul urban, și aici este vorba de orașul Pitești, undeva în jur de 38% din deșeurile reciclabile rămân în pubela cu deșeu rezidual. Aș vrea să fac o precizare. Infrastructura pusă la dispoziție, modul de colectare este foarte important. În București, probabil v-ați obișnuit să vedeți în jurul dumneavoastră acele clopote colorate, igluri. Nu este niciun mister, aceste igluri care le aveți astăzi și pe masă în fața dumneavoastră. Acest tip de containere asigură o calitate mai bună a deșeului colectat separat. În Pitești, containerele puse la dispoziție sunt containere de 1,1 metri cub, containere cu capac, care de multe ori sunt deschise. În cele mai multe situații, scormonitorii deschid aceste containere, iau de acolo ce este valoros și le lasă deschise, iar cetățenii aruncă, mă rog, mai mult sau mai puțin la întâmplare ce generează în gospodărie. Există totuși un comportament care s-a creat. Prezența containerelor colorate este un semnal că ceva trebuie să se întâmple. Vizualizând ceea ce este la momentul acesta pe etichetele puse pe container, poți ușor să identifici ce unde se pune, hârtie la albastru, plastic metal la galben, sticlă la verde. Și după cum puteți să observați, o cantitate aș zice eu, importantă, ajunge să fie colectată în containere dedicate colectării separate. În acest moment, așa cum rezultă din cifrele noastre, chiar în containerele dedicate există o cantitate de contaminant. Undeva în jur de 40% în containerele colorate o reprezintă contaminantul. Vă menționam că în clopote cantitatea deșeului este curat. Curat însemnând undeva în jur la 5% rezidu. ceea ce este foarte important atunci când vorbim de materie primă secundară de calitate, trebuie să vorbim în primul rând de deșeu de calitate. Revin cu aceste cifre pentru simplu fapt că vrem să ne raportăm la țintele pe care România, ca stat membru, trebuie să le îndeplinească în anul 2020, și anume 50% din deșeul reciclabil generat în gospodăriile populației, însemnând plastic, metal, sticlă și hârtie, trebuie să fie reciclat. Astăzi ne situăm undeva în jur de 6, 8, poate chiar 10%. În aria în care noi am făcut această determinare, apreciem că separarea este undeva în jur de peste 6%, între 6 și 7%. Până la 50% mai avem niște pași de făcut. Niște pași importanți. Ce trebuie menționat este că avem deja o experiență, există un trend, trebuie doar să accelerăm puțin viteza noastră, trebuie să fie un pic mai mare. După cum vă spuneam, în pubelă există deșeuri reciclabile și deșeuri reciclabile care sunt constituite din deșeurile de ambalaje. Undeva cam jumătate din aceste deșeuri reciclabile o reprezintă deșeurile de ambalaje. Iată de ce este foarte important să ne concentrăm pe acest flux de deșeu care ne poate asigura până la urmă ținte îndeplinite ca și stat membru. Am menționat acest procent de 6,3% deșeuri reciclabile care se colectează separat în acest moment. Există regiuni în țară unde acest procent este cu siguranță mult mai mare. Apreciez și este opinia mea ca expert în domeniul gestionării deșeurilor, este ceea ce simt eu, că astăzi România reciclează undeva în jur de 10, poate 12% deșeu reciclabil provenit din gospodăriile populației. Tot ceea ce trebuie să facem este să identificăm clar datele, așa încât contaminarea de date între fluxurile de deșeuri să nu se mai producă. Este un alt mod de prezentare, cât la sută este deșeu rezidual, cât este deșeu reciclabil, iar din cele 4 fracții pe care le menționam, parte este deșeu de ambalaj. Aș vrea doar să fac o singură precizare aici. Dacă vorbim de hârtie-carton, undeva peste 30% sau în jur de 25-30% în containerul albastru este ambalaj. Tipăriturile și nu numai tipăriturile, tot ceea ce generăm noi în gospodărie ca și hârtie, chitanțe, scrisori, cu toate că nu prea mai scriem azi, folosim mail-ul și SMS-ul, sunt cantități importante care ajung în pubela albastră. Deci, iată un flux, o materie primă, secundară, pe care nu trebuie să o irosim. În ceea ce privește plasticul, proporția este cam jumătate-jumătate. La sticlă, preponderent, deșeu generat în gospodării este ambalaj. Atenție! Deșeu reciclabil de sticlă nu înseamnă acele vase Iena pe care noi, termoresistente, acelea niciodată nu trebuie amestecate, pentru că, așa cum menționam, un deșeu de calitate generează o materie primă de calitate. Pe scurt, ca și concluzii, pentru că oricum am avut mai mult timp decât covorbitorii mei, aș vrea să fac doar câteva precizări. Cantitatea generată, așa cum spuneam, este undeva în jur de 350 de kg pe cap de locuitor. În mediul rural se generează astăzi undeva de 3,5 ori mai puține kilograme de deșeuri pe cap de locuitor și an. Deci putem să aproximăm undeva sub 100 de kilograme, în jur de 95 de kilograme pe locuitor și an în mediul rural. Cu toate acestea, când ne uităm la compoziție, cam jumătate din deșeurile generate în mediul rural sunt reciclabile. Asta pentru că componenta organică este mai redusă în mediul rural, mai mănâncă păsărelele, mai mănâncă ce avem prin curte, dar și asta face ca această componentă reciclabilă să fie puțin mai mare în mediul rural. Un alt lucru foarte important este că în ultimii 10 ani comportamentul s-a schimbat. Există un trend, există populație care dorește să separe. Și am avut exemple nenumărate în cazul în care containerele au fost ridicate fie pentru igienizare, fie din alte considerente, cetățenii au reacționat. La noi, la primărie, au asaltat operatorii de salubritate cu întrebări. Faptul că nu toți românii separă, nu înseamnă că nimeni nu separă. Și atunci ar trebui să privim lucrurile obiectiv. Deci, undeva în jur de 40%, ca să fim așa generoși, este deșeul reciclabil în pubela noastră, este deșeu pe care putem să-l transformăm în materie primă secundară. Tot așa ca o aproximare, undeva în jur de peste 8 kg azi separă un român la sursă, din care în jur de 5 kg o reprezintă deșeuri de ambalaje. Ca să putem să separăm la sursă cu adevărat și să stimulăm generatorul să facă acest lucru, este foarte important să folosim instrumente economice. Acest pay as you throw, ca principiu pe care îl menționau și antevorbitorii, este un instrument care a dat roade în toate țările în care a fost implementat. Nu cred că România, după 7 ani, așa cum avem 7 ani de acasă, după 7 ani de membru în stat al Uniunii Europene, cred că suntem în stare și trebuie să aplicăm regulile europene. Asta este pe scurt. Mai vreau să fac o singură precizare. Studiul nostru s-a derulat în județul Argeș, așa cum vă spuneam, cu sprijinul partenerilor pe care i-am avut acolo. Apreciez că acest studiu poate să fie extins la nivel național, are relevanță, mai ales ținând cont de faptul că toate documentele premergătoare accesului ca stat membru s-au sprijinit pe informații care au venit tot din județul Argeș. Vă mulțumesc. Asta e tot. Aștept întrebările dumneavoastră.
Mulțumesc, Liliana. Așteptăm din partea dumneavoastră opinii, întrebări, comentarii.
Sergiu, la Antena 1, vreau să ne spuneți dacă ați depistat în studiul dumneavoastră ce conține exact, nu știu, ce conțin deșeurile, adică cât la sută este carton, cât la sută metal dintr-un coș zilnic, să spun așa, de deșeuri.
Da. Procentele pe care noi le-am identificat în studiul nostru arată cam așa. Să vă citesc exact datele pe care le am aici. În procente, undeva în jur de 11% înseamnă hârtie, carton, altceva decât deșeuri de ambalaje, deci tipărituri, cum menționam, alt tip de hârtie. În jur de 4% deșeul de hârtie, carton este reprezentat de deșeul de ambalaj. La plastic, proporția este cam jumătate-jumătate. Deșeurile de ambalaje reprezintă cam 8%, în timp ce deșeurile de mase plastice, restul în afară de ambalaje, cam 7%. În ceea ce privește sticla, cam 3% este reprezentat de ambalajele de sticlă și undeva sub 2% sticlă din alte utilizări în gospodărie, pahare, nu știu, alte obiecte decorative. În ceea ce privește metalul, în jur de 1% este reprezentat de alte deșeuri decât deșeuri de ambalaje, iar 2% deșeuri de ambalaje. La ambalaje metalice fac precizarea aluminiu, oțel și alte ambalaje metalice. Avem și o categorie numită compozite, este undeva în jur de 1%. Mulțumesc.
Vă rog.
Vreau să vă spun de la aceea. Am văzut aici că deșeurile reciclabile colectate...
Use the microphone.
Aici scrie că deșeurile reciclabile colectate separat reprezintă doar 4% din masa totală de deșeuri generate, 4% fiind în creștere de la 0, când era în 2002, toate fiind colectate în amestec. Procentul ăsta de 4% mi se pare tragic de mic pentru evoluție în 10 ani.
Da. Acel procent de 4% este raportarea cantității care se sortează sau care ajunge în containerele de colectare separată, raportat la cantitatea totală de deșeuri generate. Deci este foarte important atunci când identificăm rezultatele să ne uităm ce la ce se raportează. Asta înseamnă că undeva 4% din total ajunge să fie pus în containerele colorate. Deci o cantitate de circa 14 kg raportat la o cantitate totală de 300, aproape 350 de kg pe locuitor și an.
Da.
Da. În timp ce deșeul reciclabil, atenție, este undeva în jur de 6,3%, așa cum menționam. Da?
Da, eu mă refer doar la eficacitatea infrastructurii de colectare. Adică dacă este așa de mic acum, ce putem face ca să creștem la un procent mai serios?
Există mai multe instrumente pe care putem să le utilizăm. Primul pas este, într-adevăr, să punem infrastructura în teren. Să comunicăm acest lucru către cetățeni, să învățăm cum să facă și dacă nu fac, să-i obligăm să facă. Asta înseamnă utilizarea de instrumente economice. În momentul în care plătești de 10 ori, de 20 de ori pentru deșeul rezidual, mai mult decât pentru deșeul reciclabil, fiecare dintre noi ne uităm în buzunar, stingem lumina, strângem robinetul la apă, dăm drumul la căldură după cât ne ține plapuma. Așa ceva trebuie să întâmple și la deșeuri.
Cât la sută din deșeuri reciclate pentru domnul William Vermeir?
Deci, întrebare de la presă pentru William Vermeir, cât la sută
din deșeurile provenite din gospodării?
Din deșeurile provenite din gospodării?
Sunt reciclate, cât la sută sunt reciclate în Belgia?
Sunt reciclate în Belgia.
We have, sorry. Okay, there was a strong evolution during the last 15, 20 years, during following a lot of instruments or tools that were applied at legal level and practical level. But in general, we reach today, not only talking about packaging and not only waste in general, but for household waste specific, we turn around 75–80% of the total waste stream that is effectively recycled. And when I mean effectively, this has also to do with the traceability. This means that it's delivered to the recycling plant, and therefore I consider it is also very important to stress that to have very reliable data on all this, because you have to monitor it, and I think this is the best start that Eco-Rom can make, to start monitoring what is in, and then you can afterwards also monitoring what is going out.
Când a început Belgia să recicleze selectiv?
Când a început Belgia să colecteze separat?
The Belgian, then I'm talking specifically for packaging. It started, the real beginning was in 94, 95. We had our first large-scale project, and we went very progressively because we didn't want to implement the whole of the country. We are smaller than Romania, we are half of the population, but anyhow it took us 10 years to implement, or let's say to cover the whole of the country for the selective collection, because we didn't want to make mistakes, and we went step by step. And this is also something we can recommend to other countries to go step by step.
Și ultima întrebare, cum vi se pare nivelul care l-a atins România la ora actuală?
Cum vi se pare nivelul pe care l-a atins România în prezent?
Well, I'm following, okay, we have a close partnership, we are working together, we are changing experience, because we can also learn from your country. We have no problems to say that, and we can learn from each other's mistakes. But the only thing I can say, that, as I just said, this analysis on the waste composition, it's an important step. I know the discussions that are going on within Eco-Rom regarding the commitment of industry, the plan that they want, the plans that they are discussing, and let's say the recommendations that they are proposing with the authorities. I think the last 4 or 5 years, Eco-Rom, together also in its partnership with the municipalities, is doing a great job, and I think I would say continue on this path.
Mulțumim. Mai sunt întrebări?
În studiul dumneavoastră ați făcut un calcul, de exemplu, o mașină de gunoi, nu știu, cât costă din punct de vedere al materialelor ce conțin acolo. E foarte important, cred că, pentru populație să afle și costurile. Pentru că noi plătim 30 de lei în fiecare lună, să spun, pentru colectare, dar nu știm că, de fapt, în acea mașină, nu știu, se află 1100 de lei sau ceva de genul.
Da, lunar un român plătește sub 10 lei costul serviciului de salubrizare, ceea ce este infim, este foarte puțin. Ceea ce se găsește înăuntru, sau cât valorează ceea ce este înăuntru, ne relevă acest studiu. Practic, trebuie să ne ducem cu această compoziție pe care noi am făcut-o în cadrul acestui proiect, să vedem care este valoarea de piață a deșeurilor. E foarte important ca deșeurile să fie separate la sursă. Deci ceea ce se găsește în containerul de deșeuri reziduale în amestec nu este propice pentru reciclare. E foarte important și din punct de vedere economic, ca business. În momentul în care separi deșeul la sursă, ai puțin rezidu, ai calitate, ai preț. Deci este un punct de plecare pentru a calcula exact ceea ce dumneavoastră întrebați. Care este valoarea cu care se plimbă o mașină astăzi pe drum? Este un pas următor. Mulțumesc.
Bine. Și noi vă mulțumim. Trebuia să le sintetizați. Și nu, dacă ne vine așa din timp, nu e bine. Vă rog, ultima întrebare.
Does this work? I'd like to ask Mr. de Clercq, what incentives or penalties we can introduce in Romanian legislation according to EU laws to get people to collect, separate at source and improve our collection rate?
Well, thank you for the question. I mean, as William mentioned, there are several tools that are in the hands of the member states, the national authorities, but also the local authorities. And we see from the experience, and this is, I think, a potential advantage of Romania, that we can learn from the experience of other countries and save time, not to make the same mistakes. But we see that from the good performing countries, the economic instruments like extended producer responsibility for not only for packaging but for electronic equipment or other types of waste are definitely a way of changing and making the producer responsible by financing separate collection and financing the collection and treatment operation. So it's a good way of influencing the behavior of the people and also to raise additional money. And not a lot of money. I mean, William was mentioning that for Belgium, for instance, it's €6 per citizen per year to reach that level of packaging recycling. Another tool is the landfill tax, and I showed in my presentation that there is a clear correlation. When you introduce a landfill tax, the landfill rate is decreasing immediately. I mean, there is a clear correlation in the state where you see that as long as you have increased the landfill tax rate, increasing the landfilling rate. And the last economic instrument that is really powerful. Again, we have lots of evidence and lots of statistics that show that from one day to another you have a real impact on separate collection when you introduce the pay-as-you-throw scheme that was mentioned by Liliana. This is a very simple principle that in the end it should not lead to an increase in price, an increase in cost for the taxpayers or for the citizens. It's simply that the more you solve, the less you will pay, or the less you solve, the more you will pay. It's simple application of the product-based principle. But of course that needs to be introduced with some political decisions and also some technical measures to make sure that it's convenient also for the people. That's also important that the citizens deserve a convenient service, collection service that allows them to participate and to be committed to this.
Vă mulțumim și vă mulțumim și dumneavoastră pentru participare.